John, since we were talking about Phone 7 and we're thinking that's where we're going to go, what do we think about this article down here just kind of jumping around like crazy about the 5 things Phone 7 needs to do to become a thing? And, you know, we were going to get James's point of view. We were going to get Phone 7 James's point of view on here. We're going to confuse ourselves here in a minute. I honestly think these 5 reasons are pretty much dead on. It's like, the first one's kind of sick. Call Nokia and get some market share. Honestly, I think the reason Phone 7 is having a problem gaining market share has absolutely nothing to do with the fact that they're only on one carrier. At least in the States. I think the real problem is...
Whoa. Windows Phone 7 is only on one carrier.
Who else are they on besides...
I'm sure I've seen it on T-Mobile.
Okay, so it's on T-Mobile and AT&T.
It's a GSM phone, yeah.
Okay, so it's on the big carrier and then the little one that nobody cares about. Okay. Okay. I stand corrected. It's like,
what about Metro PCS or something weird like that?
That's CDMA, and I haven't seen any on Metro. And Metro's always behind in adding that stuff, so it may be next year, but probably not this year.
Metro don't care.
Yeah, and honestly, the reason I think Phone 7's having problems gaining market share has nothing whatsoever to do with the limitations of carrier selection or other things. It has to do with the same bullshit that's making Android suffer, and that is, you know, this little process that things have to go through. It's also missing some key features. But because Phone 7 is a paid OS and the updates and the services and support for it are paid Microsoft services for the OEMs developing it, they have absolutely no interest whatsoever in pushing any updates to the device. Realistically, you're likely going to have to buy a whole new device to get any Phone 7 updates. And that's a big problem. That's also a problem in Android, but they do fiddle down somewhat.
And you can root it.
And you can root Android. Well, and Phone 7 is encouraging rooting. You know, their reaction to people trying to hack it was, "Hey, come work for Microsoft," which is a good thing on their part. But it's one of those. This is really the thing all of these OSs need to figure out how to bypass. They need to figure out how to bypass the update process from having anything whatsoever to do with the OEMs that design, get the phone manufactured, and sell it to the cell phone carriers, and anything whatsoever to do with the cell phone carrier's desire to get you to come in and renew your contract by buying another phone. They need to just bypass this process altogether, both Phone 7 and Android, and just figure out a way to push the updates directly to these devices. That's what they both need to figure out how to do, because short of doing that, this problem is going to plague the consumer, because there's 2 middlemen in between the OS and the consumer that their vested interest is in not having updates go through.
Okay, I'm reading this article. I'm reading the article about here's the 5 suggestions. Is this legit? Nokia thinking about Android devices in the U.S.?
There's rumors, but there's nothing confirmed yet.
Because I remember just a little while ago, Nokia explicitly said, no, we will not sell Android devices. Because they chose to go with Miko.
They chose to go to Miko, but rather...
They specifically said, like, they thought about it a while ago, and they're like, no, we're not going to do it.
Yeah, they chose to go to Miko, and the reality is, nobody really knows what end. Here's the general thought of the tech industry right now. The thought of the tech industry right now is Miko doesn't stand a chance in hell of surviving at all, and that at some point in the next 6 months, when Miko tanks, Nokia is going to have to eat crow and use somebody else's OS. It's the official position of the educated tech journalists. So the speculation is, well, who should be buttering up to Nokia, and who would Nokia take buttering up from?
What's wrong with Nokia? They failed on the Maimo thing, and Intel, they tried the Moblin thing, and they tried to like join forces and make Voltron, and it didn't work out when they did Miko. They can't really make any Linux-based OS for mobile phones.
I the reality is Nokia is going through some growing pains right now because until the smartphone industry kind of took over with the devices we now consider smartphones, Nokia pretty much ruled this arena, and now they don't know how to transition to we're not in charge anymore. It's like because they still want to think they are, and they don't want to accept that. They either need to hit a home run or they need to join what everybody else is doing, and they went from leading to quickly falling behind. Now that being said, they're not a slouch or anything. If you look at the what is it? I think I put it in here. The breakup, mobile phone sales roundup under the interesting statistics. It's not like they're insignificant or anything. They're still the #1 vendor. In spite of all of this, they're just very close to falling by the wayside. And
yeah, because they're completely insignificant in the emerging market.
Say that again, James.
Wait, what are you talking about? #1 vendor? Are you talking about Nokia?
Yeah.
Oh.
They sell more phones than everybody else.
They're well, as far as I just read, I remember earlier today that Android was the most popular selling OS in.
Yeah, but we're talking about hardware, not software.
We're talking about hardware, not software. And Nokia, the big order of phone OEMs right now. Nokia is king. Nokia is the biggest, followed by Samsung, followed by Life's Good, followed by ZTE, followed by Apple, followed by all the other OEMs. So these are
Motorola as the name one too.
Motorola's though in the other. For actual sales of phones, for who's selling phones, for who's pushing the hardware, and that's why it's so hard for Nokia to eat this crow. Now they're falling. They're moving down and down and down. What's likely is Samsung and Life Good is likely going to overtake them sometime in the next 18 months, and Apple's going to be heading up the heels. And this isn't something Nokia just cannot accept because they have led this for going on about a decade. It's like they just cannot accept, what do you mean we're not in charge of the mobile industry anymore? What do you mean we're getting bypassed by our competition who don't even...
Would it be fair to call Nokia the IBM of the cell phone market?
That would be a very fair analogy. And this is why the tech journalists and everybody are circling their wagons around. How is Nokia going to fall? Who are they going to fall into? Yada, 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 yada. Because the debate is, are they going to learn from companies that made this mistake in the past and basically became all but irrelevant? Or are they going to, eat the crow soon enough, like in the next 6 months, and manage to stabilize before they fall? And that's the real debate. That's part of why this article was suggesting that Phone 7 butter up to them, because if Nokia starts to see themselves getting ready to fall from #1 to #2, whoever is cozying up to them, they might go, fine, here, we'll sell your crap. Now, this is all assuming, of course, that Miko's going to fail, which nobody really knows yet.
I'm pretty sure Miko will fail. It has been doing well since it's been released,
Yeah,
Nobody
the
cares
problem is that Miko seems like more kind of advanced, and in some ways better OS than Android is. For one, Android is very sandboxed, and that does have some problems because Java is, slow and it doesn't allow it to run on different phones, but that does have its own bad things with it.
Right.
So,
and Miko would be all native apps and. Well, no, we came up with a theory that could let Miko hit a home run, and that was if Miko would figure out a way to emulate the Android sandboxing so it could run Android apps too.
that'd be interesting.
Yeah, that would give Miko a potential to have some real legs and ultimately shake up things. But I don't think Nokia is going to do that.
Miko also seems to be having an identity crisis. It's also for netbooks too, and it's not doing well on netbooks either.
No, and I don't see it doing well on netbooks. And there isn't a tablet version of Miko. There just isn't right now. So it's behind.
I'll make a better tablet than Android. Well, the way it is right now.
The way it is right now, but we'll see how things shake up there. Anyways, moving on to the next point, get better hardware. I don't think that's really fair. It is what it is. That has nothing to do with Phone 7. That has to do with what the OEMs are putting behind Phone 7.
It is still going to affect Windows Phone 7 sales, though, so I'd say it's fair.
It's fair, but it's not really Microsoft's responsibility. It's the vendor's responsibility, and again, this is also a problem in Android. Like the people who are putting out these 333 megahertz Android tablets. It's like no, no.
There's a clause in the licensing. If you're gonna call it Android, put better hardware on it. God damn it.
Well, and that's what they're saying Phone 7 should do. Must at least meet these minimum system requirements to even qualify for a Phone 7 license. That's the suggestion here. Launch a tablet already. I honestly don't know what Microsoft's game plan there is, because they haven't said. Has Microsoft said anything about a Phone 7 tablet at all?
No, they were convinced that the way to go for tablets was to put Windows 7 itself on there.
No, Windows 8. They ported Windows 8 to ARM.
Okay.
I didn't know they were already developing Windows 8, but
they've been developing it, but it's not ready for release, and it ain't going to be released anytime this year, probably not anytime next year. So it's like that. Basically, Windows' official position is they're going to stay out of the tablet market for 3 years. That's a really interesting stance to take. Although that is the Microsoft way. Let everybody else figure it out, and when we figure out what works, come in and copy it. That is the official Microsoft way.
Of course, embrace, extend, and extinguish.
Okay. Anything to add on that, or are you bored out of your gourd, James?
Well, I'm actually thinking about how much time I've left. I'm kind of trying to get sleep.
Okay. Let's move on. Let's move on.
Since we're talking about Microsoft copying people, I know there was something in our list about that.
So I'm probably gonna go in about 10 minutes.
Okay.
Yeah, the Google thing.
And you should probably swap out Leo so he can get some FaceTime.
Unfortunately,
that's not gonna work.
It's not gonna work. He screwed up his computers. So when
you just said
you don't have an iOS device.
I do, but I refuse to use it.
All right.
I mean, it's not mine, but I do have access to one.
Anyways, that's okay. So the other 2 points are and now this one actually has some validity. Their suggestion is give Phone 7 away. Do I ever see Microsoft doing this? Hell no. Microsoft does not believe in anything free.
Although they wouldn't let the Chinese pirate them, they did not care.
Yes, because they prefer you pirate them than use their competition.
Yeah.
but this is a valid thing. It's going to create difficulties for Phone 7 to compete when there's a free alternative that is more established than Phone 7 itself. And that is a difficult sell. I mean, they've convinced some OEMs to do it, but that's a difficult sell. Okay. Focus on feature phones. But anyways, moving back to the topics at hand. Since you're fixing to go, James, anything else here, something you actually want to say 2 cents on?
Hello? Earth to James.
James? I can't hear you.
Houston, we have a problem.
We have lost him.
James? There you go. Now we have audio. It's like...
Anyway, it's the wonderful power of muting.
Okay. You just weren't listening to us. Okay. It's like...
No, I didn't mute you guys. I muted myself because I was making noise.
Okay.
As in my computer was making noise. Anywho, I have something to say, but it's going to be for Linux. So.
Which we don't even know. Which we don't even know if we're doing because Jordan's kind of out of it. He says he swears he's going to be good, but I don't know if him being is out of.
Why don't you invite other people for it?
You do have another Linux user here.
R3. So okay. So I take it you just want to go then.
Well, I wanted to give. Hold on.
Standing by, holding on. Would you like the Jeopardy music to fill dead air?
This show, I swear.
Okay, wait a minute. What are you doing?
To give Leo some FaceTime.
He's got a still picture of Leo's cell from an old show. Okay, so you're leaving now or something?
Anyway, see you guys. Bye-bye.
I did not give James permission to use my likeness.
Did you say you don't or you do?
I said I didn't. Whatever, it's already happened now.
Oh dear. We're committing piracy and unauthorized use of copyrighted material against each other. How dare we?
Yeah.
Actually, you could do that. You could like call into that machine over there and put like a picture up. But then, never mind. It's like,
Yeah, the hodgepodge of my machine. I'm just.
okay. We've just yeah. He's back. What is it, James?
I'm just saying bye.
Okay. Bye. Are you gonna put something? Okay. Yeah. Okay. We're just rotating over to this right now. It's like. Okay. I guess it's just unless Leo can figure out a way to call into that machine. I guess this is how we're finishing the show. Damn it. Anyway, we had such plans, and then Phone 7 James didn't show up, and then James left to go to sleep. Weakling. This is why I didn't want to be doing this late. Anyways, it is PC versus Mac. We've covered Android. We might as well go into the iPhone-ness.
This is where it gets interesting.
I'm not sure interesting is the right word for any of this. You know, it's not like any of this is that old year lordis. You know, it's the rumor is the iPhone 5 is going to be using all these Samsung chips. You know, and it should be noted that Samsung makes a lot of Apple's hardware. So is it any real wonder that Samsung outranks Apple in the hardware sales, especially in the mobile arena and stuff. But supposedly the iPhone 5 is going to use up all their chips, so it's going to raise the price of these Power VR GPUs for everybody else. And Apple's paying an extra premium to get more of them, is at least the rumor here, since we don't know anything about the iPhone 5 yet. This is entirely an unfounded rumor.
Those are the best kind.
Oh dear God, if I was Samsung, I would tax Apple like crazy.
Yeah, this is actually a great opportunity for Samsung to make a good shit. And the reason I bring this up, especially with Commodore here in the background, doesn't this kind of remind you of a Power PC kind of buying scheme where they just used more chips than there were and so drove the price up? And so doesn't this kind of remind you of that? If this is true.
The Spindler plan?
Because, I mean, this ultimately led to Apple giving up on PowerPC and moving over to the Intel platform. I mean, would you see something like that possibly happening to future iPhones, like a future version of the iPhone won't run on this architecture at all because there aren't enough chips, or because they've drove the price of the chips up too much, or, again, this is entirely a rumor, but, you know, this seems a lot like what they did to PowerPC, doesn't it?
I don't think ARM is going anywhere, you know, like, it's already well established, you know?
Yeah. Well, but this is just the Samsung version of the GPU. This isn't ARM itself. This is the part of the A4 processor, or the next version of the A4 processor.
Well, maybe Apple will look for an alternative, like, supplier, you know?
Okay. But it's Samsung's chip, so, you know.
You know, they are our competitors, you know, or maybe they can develop their own. Oh, wait, they don't. Let's just say they do.
Okay. Well, no, it's like in the next story on here, we've kind of already covered talking about all the AT&T stuff, and that is Apple slipped in market share again. You know, it's like the reality is everything's going up and down right now. We won't have an idea of what the hell is happening right now until about November. So all this slips, didn't slip, yada 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 yada. It's a guess at this point because it's all being artificially deflated and inflated. We have no clue. However, there is the fun Apple story, and it's a shame we don't have anybody else on video, and we will be covering this in iWorld, assuming iWorld gets done this week. Oh, but we have to. It was working before we started recording, and then you screwed it up. You screwed it.
I did not screw it up.
Anyways, what do we think about the fact that Apple is basically attacking Sony? Y'all know what I'm talking about?
No.
What you talking about, Willis?
I'm talking about the fact that Sony's application for their ebooks is not allowed in the iOS marketplace because Sony sells ebooks. And they don't sell them only through Apple Store.
Wait, how does that work? Isn't Kindle on the...
Well, that's the big debate going about the Twittoscope and the interweb and everything right now, and that is Kindle... And nobody's asked this yet, but, you know, I would say this also applies to Audible and a whole crap load of other stuff. You know, are all these apps next to get the chop? Are they all going to get removed because they don't give 30% of their revenues to Apple? Now, the debate here is that Sony's is done through the app. On ones like the Kindle, you can buy it through the site. But the debate is, are they going to make it where you have, basically it has to be in the iOS/iTunes marketplace, or your application can't have anything to do with it whatsoever. You know, this would also affect Netflix by proxy. There's a whole bunch of things in the iOS marketplace that would just kind of get, boop, boop. Nope, you don't.
So what you think is Apple's trying to do is get rid of the loophole where they can't have like their own app, like store inside the store. Like if they do the store inside the store, they would get 30% of the revenue from like a Kindle book if it's sold in the Kindle store,
right,
inside the iStore.
But basically, Apple doesn't.
Amazon.com website, right?
Basically, Apple doesn't have a problem with. Basically, the logic of this would be, if it does expand to Kindle, is Apple doesn't have a problem with Kindles being on the iPad as long as they get 30% of everything Amazon does. Which I'm not sure is fair, but that's kind of what Apple's trying to set here. Basically, it all has to go through the Apple Store, and Apple gets their 30%. They're looking upon this, like you're saying, as a way to circumvent their 30% cut fee. You know what? Which, you know, they are justified in, but I'm honestly wondering how far they can really push that. And I would even go one further if we want to go into tinfoil hat land. This is entirely unfounded. This is merely a tinfoil hat theory, and it's a shame we don't have Leo on the video with his tinfoil hat. But
I've misplaced that thing.
But one of the things, this is really interesting timing, considering that Sony has announced that they're working with Android, you know, for games and things like that.
Mm-hmm.
So it's almost if Apple isn't punishing Sony for working with Apple's primary competition.
Wouldn't be the first time they've tried something like
There's
that.
no proof of this whatsoever. It's just, like we're saying, how is this really that different from Kindle, Netflix, Audible? You know, we've just named 3 services right there. You know, but yet they pick on Sony. it's you know, is Sony the new Adobe in Apple's eyes or something? You know, we don't like you. You're working with our competition. That's like, again, completely unfounded. It's one of those. It weaks a little bit.
Apple's so temperamental. The key word is mental.
No, and I mean, do we think they're justified to do this out of curiosity?
Don't think so. They've tried it before and got in trouble for it.
Well, okay, but okay, let's play. I hate to be playing devil's advocate on behalf of Apple, and we will cover this more in iWorld, assuming Bit shows up. Is the end user going to associate this problem with Sony or with Apple? We know it's Apple putting the monkey wrench in the works, but from the end user's point of view, is it that their iOS device won't play nice with Sony, or is it that Sony won't play nice with their iOS device? The facts are the iOS device won't play nice with Sony, but in the end user's point of view, you know, the grandma user, the average user, all they know is their iOS device can't open a Sony book, so they don't want to buy a Sony book. Yeah. And that really is exactly what Apple wants here. And if that... Now, the question is, would that fly if they did that with Kindle, considering Kindle books work right now?
It would fly with the consumer, but I wonder if you couldn't take legal action that way.
Well, and who knows?
Like, especially if they're treating it so differently from, say, Amazon or Google Books, because at that point it starts to look like an antitrust violation.
Well, and there's the slightest of difference here in that the way the Kindle app on this device works is you buy it on Amazon. When you click to buy, you're actually redirected to Safari, to the mobile version of Safari, and you actually do the checkout through the web browser. You don't do it through the app. Sony's one was to integrate it for a better user experience to do it through the app. I know, it's big shock. Better user experience on an iOS device, and Apple doesn't like it.
Translate Apple, I want more money.
You can't do a better user experience than Apple. They're perfect.
Well, no, but because it would have been a more seamless experience than the way it works in the other applications, like the Kindle one, where you have to open another application to complete this part of the thing. You know, no seamlessness. But, you know, where is Apple going to draw this line is the real debate going on in the web right now. And honestly, I think if they think they can get away with it, they will try and draw it where, no, you can't buy Kindle books from your iOS device anymore. You can buy subscriptions, but you can't buy Kindle books. And honestly, given that if Apple is doing this to Sony because they're pissed at them for working with Android, I guarantee you Kindle is the next one, considering that Kindle has started doing advertising that specifically attacks Apple and the limitations of the iSubscription and iBook marketplace.
That's kind of weird how they call their own book markets, their books, the same thing that they called their laptops 10 years ago.
It's an I. Everything's an I. You know, it's
They're just calling them ebooks. Oh my, that's already taken.
Yeah, and Apple has to invent it. You know, it's the invented book. You know,
they need to seriously drop that whole I thing.
Why?
Yeah.
It's worked so well for them.
old.
iPod, iPhone,
Its original meaning,
I.
that little I was supposed to mean internet. Doesn't apply to most of the iDevices anymore.
Oh, but
Internet pods, you know?
and Leo, don't try and make sense out of marketing. There's no reason to do that. You're gonna make your
I know.
You're gonna make your head hurt if you do that.
I know.
So it's like, actually, you know what? I want votes in the comments Do y'all think Apple is going to keep pushing this line as far as they can to make as many things as possible go through that 30% cut? Or do you think they're going to leave the rest of the things like Kindle and everything else alone? I actually want to hear what people actually think on that. Is there anything else we want to go into? Anything that just looks so compelling?
Facebook, kind of.
Yeah, that's kind of irrelevant. Well, Zuckerberg's account was hacked.
Yeah, just, I don't know if it says that, but one of the things that they're implementing as a response to that is they're doing a CAPTCHA kind of thing where you have to see a photo of one of your friends and name who it is.
You know, that would be like the fact that Yahoo is trying to make everybody overly complicate their passwords right now into something they can't remember. Honestly, if you try and log into Yahoo right now and you don't have what it considers to be a complex enough password, it will force you to log in through this arduous process every single time and then redirect you to a password change screen. And if you don't want to do it, you know, they'll say, oh, well, there's been unusual activity on your account, therefore you need to change your password, because the unusual activity is you didn't want to change your password.
As far as the Facebook CAPTCHA thing, just this problem just seems to emerge that they don't seem to address, where you'll have, like, some of your friends will mislabel things intentionally just to be funny, or do that whole Little Miss picture labeling thing. Just what if that comes up as your CAPTCHA?
Well, you better know your friend's sense of humor or you're not getting into your Facebook.
Apparently.
Okay.
Not to mention those people who you allowed to be pity friends and whatever.
My ear.
They know who they are.
What was that, Commodore?
Oh, my ear. Oh, God, that hurts.
Oh, what, Leo's mic?
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's not my mic.
Yeah, you're a little garbled there, man. Okay, we are getting ridiculous. Oh, well, okay. Well, nah, we're not going to get into that. Y'all just want to end it off here, or you want to go into any of this? This is becoming the show that's quickly falling apart because it didn't work out how it was supposed to. Is there anything else here that really strikes as interesting, or y'all just want to end it?
What about the Sandy Bridge thing?
I was thinking about that one. It's fine. Basically, there's a flaw in the Sandy Bridge chipset from Intel. Samsung has officially said they're going to just, you know, anybody who has an affected system, bring it in, we'll swap it out. The other manufacturers known to be affected by this are Lenovo and Acer. And the official stance of Lenovo and Acer is we're deciding whether we want to screw our customers or not. We don't know if we want to give them their money back and allow them to swap out. Or, you know, well, not money back, but swap out at our cost. We're not sure about that. Because it's, you know, we think they should have to take a class action suit against Intel. Yeah. They haven't actually said that, but their official stance is they're not sure they really need to replace the systems that are affected. One good reason is I can ever think to never buy a Lenovo or Acer system ever. It's ever.
It's too bad. Oh no, wait, I'm thinking of Asus. Never mind.
Yeah, like it's Lenovo and Acer.
Acer makes the bad stuff. Wait, isn't Acer a subsidiary of like a good company, or wait, Acer bought what did they buy?
Acer is actually an ODM that decided to make their own OEM.
Well, I believe Acer bought a company. What they buy, or I think they bought a good OEM. Which OEM did they buy? Yeah, that's what they were. They were an original design manufacturer that bought an original equipment manufacturer. I forget what they were called, and used it to just start selling their own brand. Yeah, basically, it kind of sucks. Basically, cutting the middleman out. They bought Gateway. Okay, Packet Bell. Yeah. E-Machines. Okay. Okay. And Gateway's not that bad. That's pretty sad. Oh no! Since some of the Acer systems are what the Gateways were, it's, you know, it's like when HP bought Compaq. You know, but
compacts became the crappy HPs, and the HPs became the compacts. It's just what happened.
And the E-machines are the crappy gateways, and like the Aces are the crappy gateways, you know?
Yeah, it is what it is. Okay. I'm for wrapping up there unless there's anything else that just really overly strikes y'all's fancy.
I'm good.
There's plenty of things to go into, but this is...
Yeah, look at the Hulu thing.
Oh.
Do you want to wrap it up right here?
Let's just wrap it up here, and we'll cover that next week. It'll keep. There's more info will probably come out by then too. Okay, apologize for this show getting out of hand, all, but you know, best laid plans and all. Blame Leo. It's his.
It's not my fault. I've discovered in the Super Sentai stuff I was doing afterwards that when I put this microphone. Sentai.
I'm such a perv.
Okay, we're going to stop it there while he explains to us why he couldn't call in like he was supposed to.
No, don't stop it. I need to defend myself. You can't.
Okay, we'll let you explain. Leo's going to explain. Explain, Lucy.
There is definitely an error in this gateway thing. It won't let me plug in my microphone into it, otherwise the wireless card becomes a time bomb that will explode in a couple of minutes.
Okay.
I
have one problem with that, and that it was working perfectly for about 40 minutes before.
It wasn't working with the good microphone, was it? I don't think I plugged that in.
Okay. Wait. Are you telling me that for the 5 to 10 minutes before the show when we got this on, at no point did it occur to you to plug back in the microphone you were using that was working a few hours before? Are you honestly saying that?
I tried. Okay, I think there's no way I'm getting out of this.
Y'all think he defended himself or just dug his grave 6 feet deep? We're gonna end it off there.
Just stop it now.